Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
How's everybody on this wonderful, nice day of the week?
Morning.
Okay, let's say the pledge. Please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Go party.
All right, thank you. Sergeant Barnes, not here.
Go outside.
If you
We'll
would
go outside.
be a sergeant, please. Very good. Thank you, Dave. Anybody got something good for the club they'd like to share?
Thank you. So our daughter Liz has purchased her first house.
Wow.
And she just here moved in, and it was actually 3 blocks from the house that they were renting. So the move was very easy. And Dave and I were just over there yesterday, and it's the charming for.
Exciting.
Yeah, I do a number of them. I did my reporting to the elementary school and handed out the dictionaries. And Lord, am I glad I'm retired. There's lots and lots of difference going on now. And I have 2 guests today, and one I've been trying to get to come for quite a while, but I finally got him here, so he had to retire from his position that he was in for a number of years before I could get him. And then Bill Wessler is also with that with the newspaper, which we no longer have. So I figured this would be good to get some people who moved out of the Oakland area and say, what's going on in Oakland? So we're
Good, thank you. Anyone else? One, happy to see everybody here. Happy to see Mayor Mike, former Mayor Mike. You'll always be Mayor Mike. And Bill, thank you for joining. And they're both written graduates. So.
I guess I owe one for being late. I think the bill was run a minute early, by the way, but. And another is just enjoy the nice fishing, little getaway weekend with fishing down at Bennett Springs. So it's a little chilly, but you got a lot of cards to play too, so it's good.
I got one. I got an epic breakfast at the Waffle House today. I won't be back anyway.
I got $1 for you. I'll have to owe you. My daughter drew in from Colorado Springs. That's why I'm not there this morning.
All right.
Also, I got an invitation to zoom into the Grove, Oklahoma noon meeting of their Rotary. I used to attend that when I was down in Grove, and they've asked me to zoom in this morning.
Right. All right.
every day at my house.
Okay. Howard, would you please introduce our guest and let's get rolling with the program?
We'll get rolling with the program. Well, I've known the 2 guests for quite a while under different kind of circumstances, but Mike, a student, one of my counselees, and I think I could say that I helped him become what he is today. I hope to say that I did a good job counseling. Met Bill through a different era, and that is that my wife was the first female PR person for a school district in St. Louis County. And she took a picture of one of Bill's daughters going to 1st grade. Was the first picture she ever took and put in the paper. And so what I'd asked them to do, both of them are long residents of Oberlin. They've had posts mayor of Oberlin for how many years, Mike? 15. Bill said that the work at the newspaper prior to owning it by himself, how many years?
Well, 41 years when I did the newspaper, yeah, and I worked at the community news for about 23 years
Prior to.
before I started.
So I would like for them to just sort of take a little time and tell us a little bit about what you see, Overland. We moved also, for, I guess, a number of reasons. One, we couldn't find the place really in Overland area to stay, so we joined then with two other clubs. This all happened prior to I'm not being around, so we joined basically we did not join, they have not joined us. We just moved, okay, hoping that might help. So we're no longer in Rover, but we still are and changed our name to the Spirit of St. Louis Brewers Club, County Brewers Club. So Mike, give us a little bit. We want to go. Yeah. You'll give us about 10 minutes. I know it's hard for mayors to do it.
I don't think I need this. Is that all right if I use?
It would actually probably help for them.
Help him? Okay.
Yeah, 2 online.
Mind if I unwrap your stuff, Jerry? Well, if you, most of you don't know the way I do politics, so let me rewind and go back. First of all, I want to give Mr. Williamson the credit for, yes, he did help me a lot through school. I remember that when we first really got close with one another, I thought I loved Oxerman's government class, and I thought I had to take it over. So I went down, and he goes, no, you didn't flunk that class, you're all right. And what he did for me that helped me, and it was just because that's what I wanted, what I wanted to do at the time. I was able to be part of the COE program as a sophomore in my second semester, and that's because I had a job. I was working at a service station. This is when service stations did service. That's what I like to do. I like working on cars and whatnot. So I went through COE all the way till my graduating year. 6 months after I got out of graduated from Rittner, I was drafted, and a year after I graduated from Rittner, I was in Vietnam for the 1st Marine Division for a year. And then, so what really kind of helped me when I got in the Marine Corps, even though I got drafted in the Marine Corps. People say you don't get drafted in the Marine Corps. Yeah, you get drafted in the Marine Corps. I was very fortunate because of my COE training and because I took every shop class I could take. Rather than them making me a rifleman, they made me a mechanic. Think about that. And I shot expert when I was on the rifle range. They said if I would have signed up for another 3rd year, they would have sent me to, that we'll send you to Sniper Battalion. I said, what am I going to do with that after I get out? So obviously I didn't take that path. I wanted to do my 2 years. I wanted to come home, came home, married Jerry Weiss. And, you know, her and I both graduated in 1969 from Rittner. We had our 2 sons, left Overland, or not Overland, but actually pretty much the area in 1985. Went to Eden Prairie, Minnesota, and opened up a Tupperware franchise. Did that for 20 years. So from 1985 to 2005, Tupperware made a lot of changes. We got out of Tupperware, turned around and came back to St. Louis. We moved in the house that Jerry grew up in on Chaucer Avenue, where Mom and Dad lived. And I wanted to add on to the garage. And the city wouldn't let me add on to the garage. I just kind of fought this thing, okay? And I thought, you know what, there's only one way to beat them, you gotta join them. So I ran for city council. So when I ran for city council, it was in 2006. For those of you that are in Oakland, you know, we went through pretty much of a mess for a while. Ann Persner was voted in as mayor. And I'm not gonna lie to you, the first guy in our night, I'm sitting at the docks, I go, what in the heck did I get myself in? It's all I want to do is I want to get a bigger garage. That's all I wanted to do was, you know, build a bigger garage. So the more that I started to learn what was going on, I thought, I thought I could maybe, I just decided to jump in, and what I did is I ran for mayor in a special election in August of 2007. I won that race and was mayor up until this past, it'll be a year in April, and what I did is I didn't want to be the guy that sat back and said, well, we need you younger people to get in here and take over. I wanted to be the guy that got out of the race, the person. Yeah. So now the mayor of Oberlin is Marty Little. If you don't know Marty very well, or you do, his grandfather, Phil Paul, was a councilman. I got involved with Marty when Phil Paul was reelected. And Phil came to me and he goes, he didn't ask me, he asked me, he's a very, very good supporter of mine. And he says, would you consider my grandson for my seat on the council, should I decide I want to resign? And I said, absolutely. So I appointed Marty Little in Phil's seat. Phil retired, and then we just moved on from there. And now Marty Little ran for mayor last April, won with about 75% of the vote. And I do have that younger bunch that's kind of in there, running the city. I was able to take the city from being the butt of a lot of jokes and being very dysfunctional to making it functional. I went ahead and turned a lot of the programs over to different committees of people of the city rather than just the city council. And all those things are still going on now. We still have neighborhood preservation. We recognize homes of the month. We turn around and recognize citizen and businesses of the year. We have beautification. We can do 2 cleanups a year. So a lot of things that I brought people together and initiated, and people that I recruited. I was good at talking people into doing things, so I brought in a lot of really good people that are still involved in the city. And I also brought us together with working with those around us. I was with the municipal league. I was president of the municipal league. And when I finished with them last May, they bestowed upon me the Buzz Westfall Award that they do, annually. So for me, I'm a very blessed man. What I think you need to do probably after what I told you, where I've got us to today, is reach out to Mayor Little and find out where they're going. They got a lot of things that are leftovers from, it's kind of like, when you finish, it's like turning off a 100 feet of garden hose. You might have turned it off last April, but a lot of the water I had in the pipeline is still running down. We're going to be doing some things with Wild Acres, which, I think they're going to wind up tearing part of it down. And I'm letting you know that I supported that. I supported that quite a while back, but it's just one of those bitter pills, and that's what's called leadership. You've got to make a decision to do something that's not popular. It just doesn't work. It's kind of like running for student council, but not totally running for student council. So for me, and my time, and I'm still working full-time with an employer. I was telling Mr. Williamson, my first W-2 goes back to 1966. So, and I'm 73, and I'll be 74 this year. Do the math. I think I need to take, and at least if nothing else, put myself in a position that I still want to do something, but I'm going to do it when I want to do it, who I want to do it for. So I want to thank, obviously you, Mr. Williamson, because I was not an academic. I got into a big tiff with my English teacher, and she told me, she says, it's all thing you're good for is going to war. Okay, I'll go to war. So it was a whole different time, and I was probably a different person, and I'm probably taking brother saying one in a while is the way I am. But so what? So I want to thank you for inviting me here today, and I hope I gave you kind of a nutshell of what my life has been. And the one thing a couple of things you got to remember, because I was laid off, I had to start over from top war and whatnot. It's never over until it's over. Don't ever think it's over. I had to reinvent myself at age 55 and at 58, and then I became, mayor. I've learned from those experiences that it's just never over. So thank you.
Marcus, a little bit, and then we can have some questions.
Mike, just an aside, one of my drum majors when I was in the marching band at Ritter in he graduated in 70, I believe. Palmer, he moved to Eden Prairie, and I think he might have been band director
Really?
at Eden Prairie. At Eden, it's like they still do a lot of hosting.
Right. That's, we moved into Eden Prairie. There was, probably only about 15,000 people when we left. There was close to 60,000 people in that town. And so it's, yes, it was a good environment for us to move to and try something completely different, because I left my job. I was, in diesel, what I'm doing now, back in diesel engine business. And, when I came back to it, one person said, well, you feel like you just probably went to a long lunch and came back. And they were right. So I'm very lucky that, the families that I've worked for, the Scott family that owned Western Diesel Services, and now the Costello family bought Western Diesel Services, and they have it over on Washington Avenue. So I'm very blessed. It's a big deal. And, so, our department. Bill, you're up.
It's not gonna be as long as yours, I'll tell you that.
Oh, come on, 41
It's all
years.
right.
Three and a half.
You want to do? Well, my name's Bill Wessler, which I'm sure everybody knows that. I'll just tell you a little bit how I got started at, back in school days at Ritter. That's, I worked at the community news. I did a little of everything, cleaned up and did the presses and the whole works. So then when I got into, high school, of course, I worked there part-time also. And then as the time went along, I got to be a senior, and then I took the CO program like Mike did. And that way I worked half a day of school, and then I went to work. And I did that all the way through my senior year. And then after I graduated, then I had a full-time job at the community news. So I worked there as a printer and did a little of everything, did a little selling. And as we went along, I just worked whatever they needed me, I did it. And then, I worked there, like I said, for 22 years, maybe 23. And then they sold out to the journals. So I was like, Mike, I had no job. And just so happened that my wife lost her job at the same time. We had 3 kids, so what do we do? So anyway, we got together. I decided that I'd try to start a paper. So that was a little difficult, but we got going. So I knew a few people out on the streets because of selling. And I'll never forget the first person who went to was Oldland Bank. I saw Bobby Seffel. And I talked to her about starting a paper. One of those, she'd run an ad with me. And she said, well, sure. So she worked out an ad, and she gave me an $80 check. So I thought it was okay. I said, well, I'm here, I might as well make it a checking account too. And she says, okay, all right. So she says, well, what do you want to put in there? So I handed her the check back. I told her, I said, there'll be more Monday, but that's the best I could do right now. And she said, okay. So that was one of the first ones. And then my second spot was, went down to Brockman's radio and TV. I played softball with him, and I know him real well. So of course he ran, and then all of a sudden I got a paper together, and we started running from month to month, and it got a little bit bigger, and I was really enjoying what we were doing. And like I say, we went from one to the other, and the paper got larger. So then I decided that I was going to start another paper. So about 15 years later, I started one in Brixton and Maryland Heights. And we've been doing that one for all of these years. And it's turned out real well too. So we had a lot of experience, a lot of good times, and I tried to take care of all the people in the area that the churches and schools and anybody else that really needed it. I learned that from working at the community news that we took care of all the people. So we did that for a long time, and then things got a little bad there when about 3 years ago we started having this virus, and so things dropped off quite a bit, but we still did the best we could. And so my wife and I, we talked about it, and we both talked about when we were going to retire. So we decided we were going to do it same time. So anyway, it came to the point where she decided she was going to retire. And I said to her, you know, I really enjoy what I do. And I says, you mind if I work for a little while longer? And she said, no. She says, go ahead and work. Well, okay. So I said to her the other day, I says, how long you been retired? She said, 13 years. Wow. So I think I did work a little bit longer than what I wanted to, but I enjoyed what I've done. And we started having problems, of course. And then my delivery service, they had their problems of getting people to work. And we had a couple of them that quit, and then one of the guys passed away. And then all of a sudden he came to me, and one of them went into the hospital with cancer. So he just said, Bill, I can't print your paper or deliver your paper anymore. So I said, well, what do I do? So I checked around, and it's really difficult today to get somebody to deliver the paper. Like I say, we did that for 41 years. And everybody got a free paper for 41 years. Well, I don't know if that's ever going to happen again, but we did our best. So anyway, I decided, well, the way things are going, I'm going to retire. So I'll be 83 years old next month. So I decided this is time to retire. So that's actually the story behind me. So I want to thank Howard for inviting me today. And I enjoy what I did, and sorry that I had to give it up this soon, but that's the way it is. So, yes.
You have a web press?
No, I didn't. We got printed at the community news, and then we printed there for quite a bit, and they went out of business. And then we went over to Breeze, Illinois. I've been getting printed over to Breeze, Illinois for all these years.
Yeah.
And we started out in Washington, Missouri. We got printed there too. So we just moved around, but there's not many printing companies left that prints newspapers anymore.
Yeah. When you first started, was it hot type or was it always?
Oh yeah, I started out, well, I had an apprenticeship program first, and then I learned the linotype.
Yeah.
And I went through that for 4 years, and as soon as I learned, they quit the linotype.
Yeah.
So then I had to learn, and for, I think it was like 30 some odd years, I did paste and cut.
Yeah.
I did all that, and then all of a sudden, the printing company went out of business. They didn't do that no more, so I had to learn again.
Yeah.
So then I learned the new system, and that's what I've been doing until this time. So
Wow.
yeah, so we in Breeze, we get the paper together, and then I send it over there with the internet, you know, and then they deliver it back to me, and they had the guys deliver it. So
Do they still print to a photo page and make a copper plate and then put it on the press, or?
they do it so differently now. I don't know. I was only over at Breeze one time when I changed over, you know, to see how things work. I'm sure it's completely different.
Yeah.
You
It's digital? It's gotta be. It's gotta be.
I want to thank you, Bill, because through my small insurance agency for 20 years or so in Oakland area, I would go visit usually little old ladies, and they would have the paper with my little ad and my picture to make sure I was the guy in the picture. You used to have dark hair, but not. Anyway, I said, people, they read and read locally,
Mhm. Yeah,
and that's why I always stuck with it for all those years.
I know the politicians, they used to come to me and say that when they go door to door, they got to go in, that they see that paper still sitting right there on the table, you know, it might be 3 weeks old, so. Yeah, people really liked it, so
Yeah,
we enjoyed what we did for all those years. Yeah.
I enjoyed working.
When you mentioned politicians, you know, I know you had to deal with all of them, ones that you liked and ones you didn't like. But did you ever have to edit what they were saying in their political ads?
Oh, yeah. There was a lot of ads that happened. There was one in particular years ago that, man came in. He laid $400 down on the table and he says, I want to run a full page. And I looked at it and I says, you're not even running. He said, no, I'm not, but I don't like this person running, and it was just awful. And I said, well, I'll tell you what, I'm not gonna run it. And I think he was shocked because he had that money there, so he picked up the $400 and walked out. So, oh yeah, there's been off and on, but that's why I had that little thing there. I have the right to reject any ad, so. But, oh yeah, we had that over the years, but it was mostly good, mostly good.
In Bill's early age, he had spent a lot of time on the baseball and softball field too.
Baseball.
Baseball, yeah, they played baseball all the way up until after you were in business by yourself.
Well, when I lost my job and I was 41, I quit playing baseball.
But you got your press team or your
I played for the Printers baseball team.
and you won a number of championships, I
Oh,
know.
yeah, we won, yeah.
I'd like couple of things. Go ahead.
You're into baseball. I'm probably the only one in the room that's known Bill longer than any of you.
Yeah, because
Probably about 73 years.
Probably so.
yeah,
We played quarterly baseball together.
yeah.
Won 2 championships in that.
Somewhere Rotary has a lot of trophies that is baseball through Corey and you and Bob, you were on the
They're all,
championship. Do you have those?
no,
Just turned them over.
I took a picture of the 2 teams and a plaque and whatever other things, and I gave it, we had a ceremony at the ABC Park.
Good. Speaking of the kind of paper that Bill has had, so my wife, of course, we've been in Wisconsin for quite some time, and my wife was wrote for the paper. Same kind of paper up there, free paper. You'll find it in everybody's house, and they read it more than they will. And one night, my wife and I was at a concert, and there were 3 ladies sitting here with the, it's called Peninsula Pulse, and they were reading the Peninsula Pulse. And I turned around and I said, why do you read the Peninsula Pulse? They said, well, we read the Pulse so we see what's going on, and that way we go to all of the free activities. And so forth. Any other questions? Yes.
Mike mentioned it and Bill as well. What is COE?
Oh. You could, okay, well, what it was, and it's still in existence at the Ritter High School now, only a lot different. And what it was when they were there is they put people out to work
Yeah,
half day,
yeah.
and they spent half day in school.
Was
and
it
class.
cooperative education? Is that what it was for? or what?
Occupational education.
Yeah, but that's, yeah. And then, Ann worked at Bo Prep, which we did a lot of the same thing with put people to work so that if they had a job or they could get a job and they had most of their credits, because you had to have your credits, because you got credit for the COE class.
Okay.
But at one time, I know we had 2 teachers and probably almost, I bet we had about 100 students in our COE program.
That was one.
Paul Fett was one of the teachers, yes. Yeah, he had Virgil Todd was the first teacher, and it Paul Fett. And then it was taken over and, we changed, and I know they've got a similar program now. But, that was in cooperation with the tech schools.
Yeah.
The 4 tech schools, training and what they, you could either go into the COE or go into the tech school, which was a 2-year program.
Okay.
Normally, the COE or the work study program was the senior year, but we had some, well, we put, younger people in because of situations.
My assistant, when I bought my dental practice in Overland in '96, my assistant was Marcia Ferris, I think was her maiden name, not 100% sure. She never told me when she was born, when she graduated from Rittner, but she did. But she was in, I thought she called it the ICE program.
Well, I know they've changed it.
And she started working at Dr. Hill's dental practice while she was in high school.
Yeah.
And then when she graduated, she went to Forest Park to get certified as a dental assistant, all the same time continuing to work for Dr. Hill. When I bought the practice 19 years later, she was still there. And she worked for me for 21 years and was a great gal. Was one.
We had, in other words, the years that, I was at Rittner, which was 33. That program was one of the salvations for many, many students that, were able, because, I don't know, we run a lot of surveys, to see how many people, but we probably had close to half of our students at Rittner during the years I was there. And Jerry as a student, and so forth. The kids had to work. This is a gray collar community, and the kids had to work to make it. And for a few years, right after I left the high school, I went over to Bo Prep, which was a whole another program that we had success for about, we were what, 14 years on the thing with Ann?
I think we're on there. Mhm.
I'll tell you, that was, but that program was one of the most successful programs in the state of Missouri. We would take kids from 7th grade that were what you call quote potential dropouts. And you can pretty well tell what's a potential dropout from a number of things. We took the classes that we had, we ended up that the 4 things. When we took the kid at 7th grade, their goal was go to technical school, go back to high school, and finish the regular high school program. Go to get a job and work and go to service. 75% of the classes did that. And that was a lot better than what kids were that was staying in school and not graduating.
Can I tell you a precursor to the hotel?
Go ahead.
We were brought, I guess we came in through the junior high and they had kids that, didn't want to go to school and do things. So
That was the start of the
they
program.
wanted someone to mentor them. So this kid came to work. I think he was in the afternoon. He was like 14 years old. And unfortunately, we had a random wage and hour audit, a little bitty business. Well, they determined that you can't hire students that age during school day. So I went with the investigator in to Jim Painter's office, and he was the one that started it. He definitely said, This is the best program we've ever started. We had so many kids in it, and they've gone on to high school, you know. Well, they said no to that, and then they created a vocational school as a result of that. I think of that way now.
Well, that was the start of it. Tom Pontius, and,
Dunbar.
Don Clark and Haight and Ziegler basically also at River Middle. And we were the only program like that anywhere in state of Missouri, really. And then we got a superintendent who thought that everybody ought to go to college, so our program did. Okay, I'll have back that up. Our program lost about half of the money that we were getting. And the district voted not to follow up the program. And they've got some things going now.
I'll tell one little story about Virgil Todd, didn't mention him, so. When I went to Virgil Todd about getting the CO program, so I could go to work and go to school. And he says to me, he says, aren't you captain of the baseball team? I said, yeah. He says, well, you know, we don't have any openings right now. And I said, you don't? He said, no. And I says, well, you're gonna quit playing baseball? And I says, no way. I said, I'll keep playing baseball and work both. He says, well, you know what? I think we do have one opening. I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah, you have to remember those of you that know this Virgil Todd had two boys that went on to play professional baseball. One of them got, and one of them ended up being a national coach of the Ohio University. Ohio State, yes, I'm sorry. Ohio State, and they won the world champion for colleges for, I think, 3 or 4 years while he was coaching. But yes, he was very prejudiced.
Yeah.
That man spent 27 years of perfect attendance, and 6 months after he retired, he died. Perfect for 26 years.
So I know you're a Rotarian before I joined, when I joined in 2000, this club was 2001. So when were you a Rotarian?
I never was, I'm sorry.
Oh, you are?
No,
I thought you were.
no.
We talked to him a few times.
He's always busy with the paper.
I've always had something going, yeah. I was president of the baseball association with the printers, and I had a lot of things going at the time when they asked me, and I never did come around to it, so.
Mike, what would you tell if people moving into Oakland? What's the future of Oakland? What do you see, or what? Well, all of the years that you have been,
It would be good if Overland has a problem of embracing anything that's not vanilla. And I'll give you an example, okay? Is, you know, if you've driven down Midland lately, it's a mess, right? It's just terrible. Well, the county wanted to come in and redo that whole intersection at Midland, Woodson, and where all those streets come together with a roundabout. Okay. And you had, what happened is when they started coming out, the county didn't put out their program. You had all the people that have held the community back, turn around and come out and tell everybody how bad it was gonna be and what was gonna happen to them. And that failed. I'll be quite honest with you, it probably upset the county. So they're not too embracive about, you know, I guess what do you want to do? Can you say we just kind of step on ourselves once in a while? You know, we tried to take him, we run into a little brouhaha because we wanted to do a CID over in Plaza. And people made issue with that. Okay, but you see what's going on over in Olivet? Oh, if we wouldn't have pushed forward with the CID and at Overland Plaza, we'd have nothing. We have nothing going on.
Speaking of nothing, all I see is dirt going on. What's going on?
There's a redevelopment going on there. They tore a building down. They're gonna build a new one, some new buildings. So that is on the uptick. What happened is the council went ahead and approved the CID, But unfortunately, you had some good council people that lost their seats because of taking that position. So, you know, I think, Mayor Little and the team that he's got on there now, and with this last election cycle, they got rid of some people that were, what do you call it, poison pen?
Yeah.
You know, they were people that did nothing, but they never brought any legislation for their council people that are no longer there. They never brought any legislation to make anything better, but they told everybody what was wrong and who was to blame for it. So I'm very optimistic that now that bad group that was still part of the, and it only takes one, are no longer part of the council, that we got an opportunity to move some things forward. There's some things that I kind of heard that, like I said, the mayor needs to be the one to talk about them, and I think you're gonna see us on an uptick. Good. You're gonna see us on an uptick.
So I owned a building in Brown and Lackland for a number of years. That's where our business started. And it's been vacant. And that's a pretty significant interchange, I think. And we had one of their economic guys here one time, and I said, well, can you do something? Well, if somebody comes forward, we'll do something. So, well, maybe you ought to be proactive in finding if there's some use for that building. I will tell you, it's probably one of the finest buildings in the city of Oakland. It's all concrete, because at the end of the war, they couldn't get steel. So
It's where's this one located?
The old Rock Park,
What?
the old Rock Park, pharmacy.
The pharmacy.
Southwest corner,
yeah.
It was his office.
used to be
Right.
Latin law.
Right. Right.
But I mean, it seems to me that could there be some activity of pro activity that?
I'm gonna I've not heard of anybody, recently interested in it. I know it's probably got some parking challenges, which that can be worked around. I'm gonna just speculate that probably there's some fire issues that make it define, that we have to work with the, community fire, and, they're wanting us to do things in buildings, and by the time somebody puts all the money in, it's not worth it. They do somebody else.
Well, the guy that owns it still paying full taxes to the county and city of Oakland, paying $11,000 a year.
Well, I guarantee you, Oberlin's not getting the biggest chunk of this pie.
Well, I know that, so you ought to be paying $3,000 or $4,000
The,
a vacant building.
another situation that I know a building, that, some people wanted to buy and, rebuild and have a business, and they were approved. And when they got it all ready and so forth, why the fire department that came in and said, no, you can't have it. Because, and they said, well, why didn't somebody tell us this ahead or not?
Yeah. Well, unfortunately.
And that it's been,
Yeah.
it wasn't under your,
That's one of the things that we tried to do when I first became mayor. We tried to work with the real estate people to make sure that, people that they were trying to get into properties and whatnot, they did their due diligence on the front end to make sure that if a person bought it, that they were going to be able to use that was going to be a permitted use.
but yeah, you go down Olive Street, it's good. I was never surprised about it. The first time I ever saw Costco.
Yeah.
When I did down to Brentwood, and then I came back and saw Costco, and I thought, what, this is just overnight. That's all.
They've got there's some other things that are going to be going on over in that.
Of course, that's a new city.
We
That's not.
actually picked up quite a few people that were, displaced. Well, the lumber company is over in Overland now, and a few other small businesses.
Where is fires?
Pardon me?
Where is fires?
It's back behind where, Tough Sheds is. They're back
Okay.
there.
Oh,
In that
okay.
area. Yeah.
It's on the 170.
Just,
One seventy.
so we picked up quite a bit of, people that have been displaced.
Okay, one of the things that Rotarians do is present and name folks Paul Harris Fellows. And Rotarians associate the name of Paul Harris Fellow as a tribute to a person who's demonstrated a shared purpose with the educational and humanitarian objectives of the Rotary Foundation, which, Bill, if you're a newspaper, the local light, I was an employee of the Ritter School District, and you always supported that, you've always supported Rotary. The recognition is named after Rotary's founder, the late Paul Harris, a Chicago lawyer who started Rotary with 3 businesses associated in 1905. A world of goodwill and better understanding comes closer to reality today because of the Rotary Club of Overland / Spirit of St. Louis County has made a gift to the Rotary Foundation so that the certificate is made out of William Wessler, which I've always known him as Bill, can be named a Paul Harris Fellow. And being presented with the Paul Harris Fellow recognition, Bill joins a remarkable company of people throughout the world, all recognized for their commitment to service above self, which obviously you have demonstrated tremendously, to benefit local and international communities. Gives me great pleasure, Bill, to present you with the emblems of appreciation given to Paul Harris Fellow recipients. First is a certificate, and that is your official designation as a Paul Harris Fellow, in honor of Rotary International and the Spirit of St. Louis County / Overland Rotary Club. And we also have a pin that you can probably wear. So congratulations and thank you very much. Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank everyone. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill, for all your years.
Yes, sir. And ours was one of those tables where the localite sat out for weeks upon weeks. So have a few announcements, no birthdays this week. Club member anniversaries, Bruce Green, if you would have been able to be here with us today, joined March 16th. So in 1 year. The food pantry reminder, last Wednesday of the month. So it'll be March 29th. So March 29th. District conference, the registration is still open, April 21st. 22nd is an auxiliary day. There's a golf tournament if you want to play golf at the wonderful club of Cedar Creek Event Center. It's a par 3 country course. So you might enjoy that course. Do have a question for the club. I sent out an email to the board and I wasn't real sure when some of the understanding. The Arnold Rotary Club is doing their service project again for feeding hungry children. And they asked for donations. I sent out the letter to the board and a couple of people questioned. It was $250. And how are we set?
Well, part of the restricted funds is the community chest, and so that's where the money will come from, right? So we should be good.
Is this the, where they're doing million dinners at the community park in April?
No, this is out at the Mid Rivers Mall, and we go in and several of us did that in a packaged food, rice and beans and some soy powder and just to.
Well, they're doing it in community.
Are they? Okay. Yeah, this is one, and it's it was a district program last year. This year Arnold is doing it, but a lot of the clubs are participating. So board members, since we've heard that, can we proceed with that donation? Yeah. Okay. Very good. Thank you very much. Oh, you've been waiting for this. It's what you love. Your favorite part of the meeting, other than the 50-50 drawing. Rotary quiz. So St. Patrick's Day was around the corner, but I didn't want to offend any Irish members of our group, Howard or Bob or Todd. So I didn't bring up those jokes, but they're pretty funny. They were in the thing. So I don't mind offending you, okay? Really good. Well, I
This
just.
is our own Chris Rock.
Yes. I look at it, it's a little bit, and you can start. You're really gonna go up. You're not gonna get up to say.
That's the other way around.
There's.
One of us are gonna get up.
Hey, it's fine. So the question is, what is the Rotary Foundation Share Fund? And there's, oh, you know what, never mind. What is the Rotary Foundation Share Fund? Share what?
Share program.
Share
fund.
program.
No, it's Sonny and Cher,
No, wrong one. Sorry, wrong one.
that's okay.
Right.
I can give you an answer, but it'll take more than 30 seconds.
It'll take more than 30 seconds?
Basically, it's just the system that Rotary Foundation trustees worked out years ago, and they've modified it a couple of times, where we donate to the annual fund. They invest that money for 3 years. The interest off that pays 95% or so of the operating costs of running the Rotary Foundation. And then after 3 years, that money is divided, and it used to be 50-50, and I think now we're getting 40%.
47 and a half.
Okay, well, that's pretty nice of them. We get 47.5% back to our district, not in the form of a check, but in the form of control over how we spend that money on foundation programs. Do we fund global grants? Do we send a scholar overseas or a group study exchange team if we ever decided we wanted to do that again? Or there's a portion of that, a certain percentage we can give to each club or make it available to the clubs in the form of district grants. Our district calls them community assistance program grants, but basically that's what the share program is how we get a portion of it back. The other portion, not good at math, 62.5% stays up to be matching money for global grants, to be under the control of the trustees. Maybe a certain portion of that gets donated directly to Polio Plus or as matching funds for Polio Plus donations. It's not a simple system, but it's a great system. For many, many years, that 3 years worth of investment paid to run the foundation 100%. It's only recently as employee costs and everything went up that we're now at about 92 to 95%. What's the dollar amount coming back to the district?
It varies. It's directly related to the donations 3 years ago. So, you know, the years that I was in charge of the foundation, I saw it be anywhere from $100,000 to $150,000. And of course, if we don't spend it all, it rolls over to the next year, and it continues to be funds that our district can use to fund scholarships and grants in other programs.
And I'm not sure, it was down a little bit during COVID, but it is making its way back up. I'm not sure how much we have this year, next year, or the year that I'm the governor, district governor. But we, as a district, we fund a peace scholarship of $15,000. Much money goes in back to the clubs. That's how we do our district dance and cricket grants. We also, donate a lot of money to Polio Plus. Various other, we give $25,000 to be a peace fellow district.
Yes.
So it does good money. But anyway, so since you had the answer,
Oh, boy.
yes, here we go. Choice 1, 2, or 3.
Three.
Okay, is it still in here?
Open.
All right. I gave you hold that. Okay, so.
Oh, Josie Cup. Yeah. Very interesting.
All right, and we have a 50-50 drawing, Mr. Sergeant at Arms.
I apologize for being late.
I got here as soon as I wanted to.
You really?
Yes. All right, so the drawing is up to. That's actually got trouble here. A large amount of money.
I think it might be $80.
I was gonna say we will respect your privacy if you win. Oh, okay, so retail, pull my ticket out, please.
Wait,
Just pick the ticket out.
but I have to stick it in.
Well,
Not much in there.
She's the treasurer, she knows.
Okay. Number is.
Yeah.
344.
All right, for me, it's you.
All right.
Bill and he has not won yet. For the Joker out of the remaining cards, whatever card he pulls, if it's not the Joker, it's the fair measure.
I could add loads to my resume. I'm trying.
Oh. So it rolls over. Okay, very good. Dave, would you pop up the four-way test, please? Okay, you all know, as Rotarians, we follow the four-way test. And, as we go out and hand out the dictionaries, to our fourth graders, we talk about the four-way test with third graders. Talk about the four-way test. Here it is. The four-way test of the things we think, say, or do. Please follow along with me. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? And will it be beneficial to all concerned? Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Please go out and do good in the world.